Winter is here. The air is crisp, and the world is blanketed in a serene, white silence. Snow blankets the kingdom of Tabor. I long for spring, for the vibrant colours of my rose garden to return and breathe life into this cold, still world. I dream of the days when my garden is alive with the hues of red, pink, and yellow roses, their fragrance filling the air. Most of all, I long for a daughter, a child to hold and cherish, to bring joy and laughter into our home.
One day, a single red rose bloomed, defying the winter. It stood out against the stark white landscape, a symbol of hope and resilience. Its petals were like velvet, its scent intoxicating. It was as if the rose carried the promise of spring within its delicate form. Eleanor, captivated by its beauty, reached out to touch it. She pricked her finger on a thorn, and a single drop of blood fell onto the snow-white snow, a stark contrast to the pure white around it.
I wish for a daughter, she whispered, her voice filled with longing and hope. Her skin as white as snow, as pure and untouched as the winter landscape. Her lips as red as blood, vibrant and full of life. And her hair as black as this rose's thorns, dark and striking.
Months later, Eleanor's wish came true. She gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, possessing the very features her mother had wished for. The baby had skin as white as snow, lips as red as blood, and hair as black as ebony. She was perfect in every way. They named her Snow White, a name that reflected her unique beauty and the magical circumstances of her birth. Eleanor, weakened from childbirth, died shortly after. Her final moments were filled with love and contentment, knowing her wish had been granted. The kingdom mourned their beloved queen. Her loss was felt deeply by all, and the land was shrouded in sorrow. Little did they know, a darkness was approaching. A shadow that would soon cast a pall over the kingdom, threatening the peace and happiness they had known. Snow White grew up cherished by her father, King Magnus. She was kind and gentle, with a spirit as bright as the sun. She loved to explore the castle gardens and listen to stories of Tabor's history. She was the light of her father's life. One day, a dark army appeared on the horizon. Their leader was the evil Queen Ravenna, known for her unmatched beauty and her lust for power. Determined to protect his people and his daughter, Magnus rode out to meet Ravenna in battle. "I promise, Snow White, I will return. I will not break my promise." The battle raged for days. King Magnus, a valiant warrior, fought with all his might, but Ravenna possessed dark magic more powerful than any soldier. She defeated Magnus, claiming him as her prisoner.
Tabor will be mine by any means necessary.
Ravenna, consumed by her ambition, set her sights on Tabor. She rode to the castle, her dark eyes gleaming with victory. Snow White, still a child, was no match for Ravenna's power. The queen, fearing no resistance, claimed the throne as her own. She imprisoned Magnus in the dungeons, keeping him alive for her own twisted pleasure. Ravenna, now the self-proclaimed Queen of Tabor, locked Snow White away in the castle tower. The once vibrant halls of the castle now echoed with silence and despair, a stark contrast to the joyous laughter that used to fill the air. The young princess became her reluctant ward, a prisoner in her own home. Her days were filled with loneliness and longing, staring out of the barred windows, dreaming of the world beyond. Gone were the days of laughter and sunlight. The once lively courtyards and gardens now lay abandoned, overgrown with weeds and shadows. Snow White's world shrank to the cold stone walls of her tower room. The only light she saw was the faint glimmer of the moon through the small window, a constant reminder of her isolation. The kingdom, once vibrant and alive, began to wither under Ravenna's rule. The land grew barren, the fields lay fallow, and the forests turned into lifeless husks. The people lived in fear. They whispered tales of the cruel queen and her dark magic, afraid to speak too loudly lest they attract her wrath. Ravenna cared nothing for them. She ignored their pleas for mercy, her heart as cold as the stone walls of her castle. Her only concern was her own beauty and power. She spent hours gazing into her mirror, seeking reassurance of her unmatched beauty, while her kingdom crumbled around her.
Even in captivity, my spirit remains unbroken. I refuse to let the darkness consume me. I hold on to the memories of better days and the hope that they will return. I cling to the hope of freedom, for myself and for Tabor. This small keepsake, a necklace from my mother, is my constant reminder of the love and strength that still exists within me.
Years passed. The seasons changed, but Snow White's resolve remained steadfast. She watched the world change from her tower, each sunrise and sunset a testament to her enduring hope. Snow White grew into a beautiful young woman, inheriting her mother's grace and her father's strong spirit. Her beauty was not just in her appearance, but in her unwavering courage and kindness. But even in captivity, her spirit remained unbroken. She refused to let the darkness of the tower dim her inner light. She clung to the hope of freedom, for herself and for Tabor. Each day she whispered words of encouragement to herself, dreaming of the day she would break free and restore her kingdom to its former glory.
Ravenna, obsessed with her own vanity, possessed a magic mirror. Each day, she would consult it, demanding to know who was the fairest in the land.
The mirror always assured her, "My queen, you are the fairest of them all."
Years passed and Snow White blossomed into a young woman. One day, the mirror revealed a truth that chilled Ravenna to her core.
It declared that Snow White was now the fairest in the land.
Ravenna's beauty, the mirror proclaimed, paled in comparison to Snow White's pure heart and innocent beauty. Consumed by jealousy and rage, Ravenna devised a dark plan.
She ordered her huntsman to take Snow White into the forest and kill her. To prove the deed was done, he was to bring back Snow White's heart.
The huntsman, a kind man despite his fearsome profession, took Snow White deep into the forest. He could not bring himself to harm her. He confessed Ravenna's plan and urged Snow White to flee.
Run, child, run as fast as you can and never look back.
Terrified and alone, Snow White plunged into the dark, unfamiliar woods. Thorns tore at her clothes and tears streamed down her face. She didn't know where she was going or what dangers awaited her, but she knew she couldn't go back. Meanwhile, the huntsman returned to Ravenna with the heart of a wild boar, hoping to deceive the queen. Ravenna, blinded by her own vanity, did not notice the difference. She was sure Snow White was gone. She was wrong. Deep in the forest, exhausted and afraid, Snow White stumbled upon a charming cottage. She cautiously stepped inside, hoping to find shelter. To her surprise, she found the cottage was home to 7 dwarfs. Each dwarf had a distinct personality, and they welcomed Snow White with open arms.
"Thank you for your kindness. I promise to help in any way I can."
The dwarfs, miners by trade, recognized Snow White's inherent goodness and strength. They vowed to protect her from Ravenna. Snow White, in turn, brought light and laughter back into their lives. She kept their cottage tidy and cooked their meals. She discovered a strength within herself she never knew she possessed. Ravenna, drunk on her own power and convinced Snow White was dead, continued to rule Tabor with an iron fist. She did not realize that Snow White, guided by the dwarfs and her own growing strength, was rallying the people of Tabor. Word spread of Snow White's survival and her rightful claim to the throne. Hope, like a phoenix, rose from the ashes of despair. People flocked to her banner, ready to fight for their true queen.
Together we can reclaim our land and restore peace.
The final battle was fierce. Ravenna, enraged by Snow White's defiance, unleashed the full force of her dark magic. The fate of Tabor hung in the balance, but Snow White, no longer the scared girl who had fled into the woods, fought back with courage and determination. In the end, it was not magic that defeated Ravenna, but love. It was the pure, unyielding love that Snow White had for her people, a love that could not be tainted or destroyed by any dark force. This love was a beacon of hope, a light that pierced through the shadows cast by Ravenna's malevolence. Snow White's love for her people, her unwavering belief in goodness, broke through Ravenna's dark magic. Her kindness and compassion were like a shield, protecting her and her kingdom from the evil that sought to consume them. It was this inner strength, this unbreakable spirit, that ultimately led to Ravenna's downfall. The evil queen was vanquished, her reign of terror finally over. The dark clouds that had loomed over Tabor for so long began to dissipate, and the sun shone brightly once more. The people of Tabor could finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that the nightmare was over. With Ravenna defeated, a new era dawned on Tabor. The kingdom, once shrouded in darkness and despair, was now bathed in the warm, golden light of a new beginning. The dawn symbolized hope, renewal, and the promise of a brighter future. The land, once barren, bloomed anew. Flowers of every color sprang up from the earth, and the fields, which had been desolate and lifeless, were now lush and green. The rivers flowed with crystal-clear water, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of blooming flowers. The people, freed from their fear, cheered for their true queen. They gathered in the streets, their faces alight with joy and gratitude. They sang songs of praise and danced in celebration, their hearts filled with hope and happiness. Snow White had not only saved them from Ravenna's tyranny, but had also restored their faith in goodness and love.
Thank you, my friends. Together we will build a brighter future. We will rebuild our homes, our lives, and our kingdom. We will work hand in hand, united by our shared love and commitment to one another. Together we will create a Tabor that is stronger, more beautiful, and more prosperous than ever before.
Snow White, her heart filled with compassion and wisdom, ascended to the throne. Her coronation was a momentous occasion, a symbol of the new era that had begun. As she took her place as queen, she vowed to lead with kindness, justice, and love, ensuring that Tabor would never again fall into darkness. Snow White proved that true strength lies not in magic or might, but in courage, kindness, and the power of love. She spent her days among her people, listening to their concerns, offering comfort, and spreading joy. Her presence was a constant reminder that love and compassion could overcome any obstacle. And so, the kingdom of Tabor was restored, stronger and more united than ever before, under the reign of its rightful and beloved queen, Snow White. The people of Tabor, inspired by their queen's example, worked together to build a future filled with hope, prosperity, and love. The kingdom flourished, and the story of Snow White's triumph became a legend, a testament to the enduring power of love and goodness.